Everyone is calling this a statement. ESPN is calling it beautiful football. Sky Sports is saying this USA team looked like prime Barcelona. And you know what? They are not wrong about the result. But they are completely wrong about what this performance actually means and what it reveals about the vulnerabilities still sitting underneath that scoreline. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will see exactly why the most important story from SoFi Stadium tonight is not the one anyone is telling. 4-1. USA over Paraguay. Opening match of the 2026 World Cup on American soil. 70,492 people inside that stadium. 16 million watching at home, the most watched USMNT telecast in history. This was supposed to be the moment American soccer grew up on the world stage. And in many ways, it was. But let us be precise about what we are celebrating and what we need to be honest about. Because precision matters when Turkey comes to town on June 19th. Let us start with Mauricio Pochettino. This is a man who built Tottenham into Champions League contenders, who dragged PSG through chaos, who walked into a USMNT job that many considered a poisoned chalice after the Berhalter era ended in controversy. Tonight was his validation. 4 goals, a historic brace, 100% pass completion from the center back. Pochettino had his team organized, aggressive, and emotionally ready for the occasion. That 4-2-3-1 structure pressed Paraguay into mistakes from the opening whistle, and the Babodia own goal at 7 minutes told you everything about how much pressure the USA were generating in those first exchanges. Pochettino deserved tonight, but good coaches earn the right to be questioned more deeply. And I will come back to that. Now, let us talk about the man who owned this match. Folarin Balogun, 23 years old, Monaco striker. Born in New York, raised in England, chose the USMNT flag. There were people, genuine pundits on ESPN, respected voices, who questioned whether Balogun was ready for this stage, whether he had the big game temperament. 31st minute, he silenced them. 45th minute +5, he buried them. A brace in a World Cup group opener. The first USMNT player to score 2 goals in a single World Cup match since 1930. 96 years. Let that number sit with you. Balogun did not just score tonight. He claimed a place in American football history with his boots, and he did it with composure that looked years beyond his age. His movement in behind the Paraguay backline was relentless. He found pockets, he made runs, and when the ball arrived, he finished. This is what a natural striker looks like. This is why Pochettino built his attack around him. Here is the stat that ESPN will not show you tonight. Chris Richards attempted 83 passes in this match. He completed all 83. 100% accuracy from a central defender in a World Cup opener, under pressure, on the biggest stage this country has ever hosted. That is not a coincidence. That is a team that was so dominant positionally, so controlled in their structure, that their own center back never had to take a risk. That tells you more about the USA's tactical discipline tonight than any highlight reel ever could. And now Paraguay. Because the story of their night deserves more than the scoreline suggests. Damian Bobadilla, the man whose name goes into the own goal column, was subbed at halftime. Cruel. He will carry that 7-minute moment for a long time. Miguel Almiron, who was supposed to be Paraguay's engine, their creative force, their way back into this game. He got booked at 53 minutes and spent the second half managing himself rather than influencing the match. When your best player is playing not to get sent off instead of playing to win, you have already lost the tactical battle. Paraguay had not conceded 3 or more goals in a single CONMEBOL qualifying match in their entire campaign to get here. Pochettino's side put 4 past them. That is a psychological wound that will not heal easily before June 19th. Here is the truth that nobody in mainstream media is saying clearly enough tonight. Paraguay's coach set his team up in a 4-4-2 that was built to be compact, built to absorb pressure and counter. Against this USA side, that was the wrong call. A catastrophic misreading of what Pochettino's team actually does to compact defensive blocks. The 4-4-2 gave Balogun and the attacking midfielders exactly the channels they needed between the lines. This coach made a structural error in the most important match of his team's tournament. And if he lines up the same way against Turkey, Paraguay are going home in the group stage. Now, let us talk about the psychological dimension of tonight, because this is where the real story lives. Think about what it means to play a World Cup opener against the co-hosts, inside SoFi Stadium, in front of 70,000 Americans who have been waiting 32 years for this moment. Paraguay walked into a wall of noise and belief that had been building since 1994. The USA did not just have home advantage tonight. They had historical momentum. They had a nation desperate to prove that this is now a serious football country. Paraguay had to absorb all of that before a single ball was kicked. And when Bobadilla deflected that ball into his own net after 7 minutes, the crowd erupted, and whatever defensive organization Paraguay had brought with them began to dissolve in real time. That is not a tactical problem. That is a psychological collapse. And the question for their coach is whether he can rebuild that mental foundation in the days before Turkey. Remember what I said at the start about what the mainstream media is getting wrong. Everyone is focused on the beauty of this performance, the Barcelona comparisons, the flowing football, the historic brace, and yes, all of that is real. But here is why it matters more than anyone is saying right now. Christian Pulisic came off at halftime. As a precaution, we are told. Kicked, uncomfortable, managed out of the game before Pochettino risked anything serious. Pulisic is not just a player in this system. He is the creative heartbeat, the man who unlocks space for Balogun, the player Turkey will have studied more than anyone else on this roster. If Pulisic is not fully fit by June 19th, this USA team looks different. Not bad, but different, and Turkey are not Paraguay. The tactical matchup that decided tonight came down to one specific battle. When Balogun dropped deep to receive, Paraguay's center backs had a decision to make. Follow him and open the channel, or hold their line and let him turn. They were never consistent. They followed him twice, left space, and the USA exploited it both times for the brace goals. That indecision at the heart of Paraguay's defense is what Pochettino's analysts will have identified before kickoff, and Balogun executed the plan with the kind of precision that makes you genuinely believe this striker can hurt anyone at this tournament. And then there was Sebastian Berhalter, son of Greg Berhalter, the man who led this team before Pochettino. Coming off the bench tonight, he became part of the 24th father-son pair in World Cup history. That is not just a footnote. That is the kind of moment that defines what a World Cup on home soil means for a football nation still writing its story. This USA squad carries history lightly, and that is their greatest strength. So here is where I land. Here is the chain that leads us to the verdict on what tonight actually means. Pochettino has a striker in Balogun who is ready to be a tournament star, not just a group stage performer. He has a defensive structure so disciplined that Chris Richards did not misplace a single pass in 83 attempts. He has a crowd and a nation fully behind him. And he has, for now, a fit and hungry squad, with one precaution at halftime that should resolve itself before Turkey. USA are not just co-hosts making up the numbers. Tonight proved they are a genuine knockout stage team with the quality to go further. The Barcelona comparison is flattery, but the intent behind it is correct. This team moves with purpose, presses with intelligence, and finishes with conviction. 4-1 was not a fluke, it was a blueprint. Paraguay are in serious danger. 0 points, a goalkeeper conceding 4, their best midfielder playing scared in the second half, and a coach who needs to fundamentally change his approach before facing Turkey. They are not out yet, but they need a result against Turkey while the USA face the same opponent. And that is an incredibly difficult position to be in after day one. Drop your prediction in the comments right now. Do you think USA go unbeaten?